Have you ever heard of a building so massive it could swallow entire city blocks, yet it sits completely empty? A ghost of a forgotten dream. Today, we're journeying to Lordstown, Ohio, to uncover the story behind the world's largest vacant building, a structure that was once the beating heart of American industry. This isn't just a story about an empty factory. It's a tale of ambition, collapse, and the search for a new beginning. What happened here, and what does its silent, sprawling presence tell us about our world today? This colossal structure, stretching over 6.2 million square feet, wasn't always so quiet. This was the General Motors Lordstown assembly plant. For over half a century, from 1966 to 2019, this place was a symphony of machinery and human effort. Imagine, if you can, the sheer scale of it. It's bigger than the Pentagon. You could fit nearly 100 football fields inside its walls. Day and night, this factory churned out millions of vehicles that became a part of the American landscape. The Chevrolet Impala, the Pontiac Firebird, the Chevy Vega, and later, the popular Chevrolet Cruze. The Lordstown plant wasn't just a factory, it was a community's lifeline. At its peak, it employed over 10,000 people. Generations of families built their lives around the jobs here. The steady hum of the assembly line was the soundtrack to their American dream. It put food on the table, sent kids to college, and fueled the local economy. The town of Lordstown and the entire Mahoning Valley revolved around the fate of this single plant. When the factory was booming, the region thrived. So, what went wrong? The story of Lordstown's decline is a complex one, a microcosm of the challenges facing the American auto industry. It involves shifting consumer tastes, global competition, and the relentless march of automation. In the early 2000s, rising gas prices made smaller, more fuel-efficient cars popular. Lordstown was retooled to produce the Chevy Cruze, which was a huge success for a time. It became one of the best-selling compact cars in America. The plant was running 3 shifts, and things looked good. But the market is a fickle beast. As gas prices stabilized, American consumers fell back in love with bigger vehicles, SUVs and trucks. Demand for sedans like the Cruze began to plummet. GM, like other automakers, had to make tough decisions. They started cutting shifts at Lordstown. The first shift was cut in 2017. Another followed in 2018. The workforce, once over 10,000 strong, had dwindled to just a few thousand. The writing was on the wall. Then, in November 2018, the hammer fell. General Motors announced that Lordstown Assembly would be one of several plants and allocated a corporate term that meant it would be shut down. The last Chevrolet Cruze rolled off the assembly line on March 6, 2019. It was a day of mourning for the community. The silence that fell over the 6.2 million square foot plant was deafening. Thousands of workers were laid off, forced to either relocate to other GM plants hundreds of miles away, leaving their homes and families behind, or find new work in a region that had already been hit hard by industrial decline. The closure sent shockwaves far beyond Ohio. It became a national political issue, a symbol of manufacturing jobs leaving the American heartland. Promises were made to save the plant, but the economic realities of the auto industry were a powerful force. The gates were locked, and the world's largest single-story industrial building became the world's largest empty one. Walking the perimeter of this place today is an eerie experience. The vast parking lots, once filled with thousands of workers' cars, are now desolate expanses of cracked asphalt. Weeds are beginning to reclaim the edges. The fences that surround the property seem to guard nothing but memories. It stands as a silent monument to what was, a powerful symbol of deindustrialization. But the story doesn't end with a closed gate. Almost as soon as GM left, the question became, what's next for this massive facility? You can't just let a 6.2 million square foot building sit in decay. The potential was enormous, but so were the challenges. A glimmer of hope appeared in the form of a startup called Lordstown Motors. In late 2019, they bought the plant from GM for a fraction of its value. Their plan was ambitious, to transform this cathedral of internal combustion into a hub for the future of transportation electric vehicles. They aimed to build an all-electric pickup truck called the Endurance. The community was ecstatic. It felt like a story of rebirth, of old industry giving way to new, green technology. The lights were coming back on. Lordstown Motors hired back some former GM workers and began retrofitting the plant. The symbolism was powerful. The very place that represented the decline of the old auto industry was going to lead the charge into the new one. The company went public and its stock soared. It seemed like a perfect comeback story. Unfortunately, the road to producing a new vehicle from scratch is incredibly difficult. Lordstown Motors faced a series of brutal challenges. They struggled with production delays, rising costs, and intense competition in the increasingly crowded EV market. Then came allegations of misleading investors about pre-orders for their truck, which led to federal investigations and a collapse in their stock price. The dream began to unravel. Despite producing a small number of endurance trucks, the company couldn't secure the funding needed to scale up production. The financial troubles mounted, and in a dramatic turn of events, Lordstown Motors filed for bankruptcy in June 2023. And just like that, the plant went dark again. The brief flicker of hope was extinguished, and the building fell silent once more, returning to its status as a massive, empty shell. The comeback story had become another chapter in a long, painful saga. So here we are today, back at square one. The world's largest empty building sits waiting in Lordstown, Ohio. Its future is once again uncertain. The facility was sold to another company, Foxconn, a giant electronics manufacturer famous for assembling iPhones. The initial plan was for Foxconn to build vehicles for Lordstown Motors and other EV companies. But with Lordstown Motors' bankruptcy, that plan is up in the air. Foxconn still owns the plant, and their intentions remain a subject of intense speculation. Could they retool it to build their own line of electric vehicles? Could they use the massive space for another type of manufacturing? Or will this giant of a building, a place with such a rich and troubled history, continue to sit empty, a forgotten titan of a bygone era? The story of the Lordstown plant is more than just about one building. It's a powerful lesson about the ever-changing nature of our economy. It shows how quickly industries can shift, and how communities that depend on a single employer can be left vulnerable. It's a story about the transition from the 20th century industrial age to the 21st century technological one, and the real human cost that comes with that change. The empty halls of Lordstown echo with the ghosts of the past and the uncertain whispers of the future. It's a symbol of loss, but also, perhaps, of potential. A 6.2 million square foot blank canvas waiting for its next chapter. What do you think will become of it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the heart of industrial America. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the world around us. See you in the next one.